and welcome to How to Deal When the Shit Gets Real podcast. I'm Rihanna, and I have the pleasure of having Jason back. I talked to Jason back in 2021. So, Jason, how are things going? How are you dealing when the shit gets real? Or just give us a little fill-in of what's been going on.
Oh my God, hello. It's really good to see you again. Really good to be on your show again. So much has happened since 2021. I became a pet parent, continuing my sobriety journey away from alcohol. I have not had a drink in close to 5 years now, 4.5. So it's getting up there. Yeah. And I started school recently, so looking to transition into a new industry. Yeah, a lot's been going on. And I've been somehow dealing with it all. Had a couple of mental breakdowns, which my barber assured me that you're not going to hair school unless you have a mental breakdown. So I'm giving myself grace for that and allowing, the natural glow up from that. But yeah, I'm dealing somehow. Recently, like over the last couple of years, probably, I've been learning the struggle with developing and nurturing relationships in sobriety as well. Definitely lots of challenges that I've been facing lately. And I'd like to say that I'm doing it with like the most grace and the most patience and the most sanity, but that's not always the case, but I'm human, so.
Aren't we all? And I'm glad to hear that you're still on the sobriety train. That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I was always impressed that you were able to be a bartender and still stay sober. So when did you make the transition from like not being a bartender to taking this hair journey? I've been loving seeing your photos.
Yeah, I'm in barber school. I've always had like a passion for hair, but it's mostly been like my own hair. So I've never really like thought a lot about doing hair for other people. And being a bartender, like when you're not an active drinker, especially when you're a prior drinker, it can be really challenging for some people. I know a lot of people, like when I go to AA, I'll be fully like transparent with that. I go to meetings and I have a support group and all of that. And when I would go to meetings and tell people that I'm still bartending and I'm still serving drinks and I'm even still occasionally tasting some of the drinks, people just like look at me like I'm crazy. Like, how can you do that? Oh, that's bad. You need to stop. Like when I first started meetings, people were like, you need to stop that. You need to get a different job, do something away from alcohol. And I'm like, guys, I really don't feel triggered when I'm working. Seeing people drink has never really been a huge trigger for me. I'm not sure. I mean, obviously seeing my family was probably what made me want to start drinking, but it was like the actual act of drinking. And I think when I actually gave up drinking, I was so over it that there really wasn't a lot of craving for me to continue drinking. I really was just like completely done with it. I had like crashed and burned a few too many times. And I just, we have this saying in recovery, playing the tape forward. And I just have this ability now that when I'm about to do something that could potentially take me steps closer to a drink versus further away, I play that tape forward and I'm able to see like, oh, if you do this, you're probably going to end up doing this. But I don't really have any of those moments in hospitality. Like I don't really have any triggers in hospitality. The only thing that really bothers me is my coworkers in the industry itself. It's always been very, very toxic. Even more so toxic post-pandemic world. I'm not exactly sure what that is, people's mental health or whatever, people's just lack of patience, but it's just become too much of a struggle. And when I realized I hated going into work every day, like I really dreaded going into work, I was like, I have to do something else. And then I made a short list of things that I wanted to do, and barbering was the one that just kind of fit into the life that I've created in sobriety. So that's the one that I ended up pulling the trigger on.
I mean, Jason and I met back in the day in the service industry. So the fact that you lasted this long, my hat is off to you because I was done. I was done when I was done. So I
this long. I look at people who are still like bartending and serving in their like 40s and 50s, and I don't not know how they do it. I don't know how they keep the patience.
That was my mom. Like my mom did it her whole life. I don't know how she did it. And I think that was one of the reasons she, at least personally for me, encouraged me to go to school. Because she's like, I don't want you to do this forever. And I'm like, Mom, what you do is not bad. Like, there's no reason to be ashamed. But after being in it, like you said, it really is kind of toxic in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's mentally and emotionally exhausting. I mean, just dealing with the guests, the clientele, the customers, like people will really put you through it, like mentally and emotionally. Like people will literally make you feel like your world is crashing down because they don't have their side of ranch or whatever it is they needed for their food, or they ordered a Coke when their food arrived and it didn't get there right when the food arrived, so now they're making you pay for it and they want their whole bill comped. And it's just it's mentally exhausting, but it's also physically exhausting, especially bartending. My shoulders just hurt all the time, carpal tunnel from gripping the shakers and all the tools and picking up buckets of ice and bottles, and it's a lot. And I think I'm ready to just do a little bit less for a while physically.
Yeah. So how is barbering going? Is it going well so far? It seems like it is. Like I said, I'm loving your photos.
I wish I could say it was a steady like progression or trajectory upwards. It's definitely been a lot like my recovery journey, if I'm being honest. Like it's been kind of like it ebbs and flows, up and down. Some days are better than others. Some weeks are better than others. I've had like a full month where I didn't even want to be in school at all. I didn't even know if I wanted to cut hair anymore. And that was really revolving around my own insecurities and just my own like perfectionism, like taking hold and just telling me I'm not good enough. In reality, I'm actually taking to it pretty quickly. I had like a tiny little bit of cutting hair experience like prior to school. I cut my hair myself a little bit, and I cut like 3 friends' hair. But even the first fade that I did on my friend was actually pretty good. I just watched some YouTube tutorials initially, and I realized that I had like a knack for it. And then a couple of friends asked me if I would ever do it professionally, and I was just like, no. I kind of had some other things I was thinking about doing, and like bartending was just kind of going to carry me through to those things like artistically. But those things didn't really pan out. And when I made my little short list, it was personal training, because I've gotten into fitness since 2020, the end of 2020. Film school, which was like the most whimsical, like interesting of the 3, and then barbering. And film school was probably like the one I wanted to do the most, just because it was the most whimsical and the most cool. And I've always wanted to do that, but it would have required me to move to either New York or LA for the program that I wanted to sign up for. And I didn't really want to do that. I was willing to uproot my life a little bit to change things up. I had finally gotten to that point, because I get really comfortable and don't really want to do those things when I get to a comfortable place. But my unhappiness was the driving factor, which again is very similar to recovery. Sometimes we need like the gift of desperation to just kind of hate where we are to get to where we need to be, or where the universe wants us to be. And yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at right now. First haircut I did in school, my instructor was like, "You have experience. You've been cutting hair for years, blah, 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 blah." And I'm like, "No, I mean, I've done a few haircuts outside of school, but like nothing substantial, and nothing with the tools that they gave us to work with in school, because they have a very specific set of tools and implements that we have to use in our kit." And it was all new to me, but I picked it up pretty fast. And I'm doing well. I have to say I'm doing well. My attendance isn't great because, like I said, I've a couple little mental breakdowns, just dealing with like anxiety of uprooting your life and doing something else. So it's been a lot to deal with, but I'm still in it and I'm still going. So hopefully by summer I'll be graduated and can, enter the hair workforce. So
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, and maybe film isn't off the table for you. You got a writer friend here. Maybe we can collaborate one day and we can make a movie. So it's not off the table, my friend.
No, it's not off the table. So film was actually something that I always like had in my mind as something I wanted to do. And when I wanted to sing and perform, I always looked at myself as doing something kind of like what Rob Zombie did. Like if I made it big, like I could do music for a little while and then I can use my resources and everything that I've developed through my music career and enter film and, create that way. And then it occurred to me that I could actually probably even do that with barbering, because there's so much to do with anything really, with content creation and social media, that you can develop all of these resources and all of these abilities and get experience working with like different programs and stuff like that. And you can really segue into anything from barbering, because you get all these different types of clients through content creation. You do all of these different things. You can get jobs working for sports teams, for celebrities, for the UFC, for instance. They've got barbers that work for them in Vegas. Like you have a lot that you can do. So, I mean, the sky's the limit, really. But I'd be totally content just making the money I was making bartending, working at a barbershop right around the corner. I wouldn't mind that.
I mean, absolutely. I literally just it's kind of funny you brought that up because the last time I got on TikTok, the first video that came up was Bunny, which is Jelly Roll's wife. I'm assuming you know who Bunny is.
Yeah.
And
Funny
she was
XL.
getting a wig put on, and like the wig creator already blew up the girl that installed her wig. So like that's all it takes. It's just all Bunny did was post a video of like it getting installed, and everybody was like,
Mhm.
"Who is this person? She's amazing. We need her contact." Like that's all it
Yeah.
takes.
One of the barbers who was hosting a competition on the south side of Chicago, she came into the school. She's this glamazon trans hairstylist barber. She's amazing, but she came in and talked to us about this competition and invited some of us to do one of the competitions. She had like a student competition, and I looked at her Facebook, and she's done work with Cardi B, a bunch of other like really big names and like hip hop and R&B and stuff. So, there's a lot to do, and being in Chicago especially is a great city to develop those resources. So,
And then if you do start a podcast, like you talked about, there's
yeah,
another. I can't tell you how many amazing people I've met over the 4 years and like the different connections that I've made. So if you start doing that, there's even more connections for you.
I bet. Well, I mean, you also just you always find people to interview, and the universe gives you what you need. And I'm always impressed with being able to find like people to interview in your shows and stuff like that. So it's really cool.
So you mentioned that you had a couple mental breakdowns. So are you
Mhm.
open to tell us what the heck happened? I'm
Yeah.
glad to see you're okay now.
Yeah. So the recent one, it was with school. I don't really know exactly what it was all about, other than like insecurities and anxiety, the pressure. I was really doing a lot. I really was motivated to get out of my job, bartending. So I was going to school. Then I set up a little studio in my apartment to cut hair when I wasn't at school for clients that couldn't make it to the school. And then I also started doing a very part-time like apprenticeship with a barbershop nearby that I used to go to. And so I was just really doing a lot, and I feel like I was probably just burnt out. And I was also working bartending at the time as well. So probably just burnout. And I would go into school and I would just get like an immediate anxiety attack. And
Ugh.
I don't have clinical anxiety. I don't have like uncontrollable or, you know, chronic anxiety, but I do get it occasionally. So I had medication that I would take when I would get the anxiety, but that medication was no longer strong enough. So I was really struggling for a couple of weeks. So I had to take a leave of absence from school. It was just really, really rough. And I just didn't do anything for like 2 weeks, and I just didn't needed to recharge. And I eventually saw my provider again, and he got me on a little bit of a stronger medication. It's not quite a benzo, but it's benzo adjacent. It's called gabapentin, and it's working. Anytime I have like a little bit of anxiety, it's a little bit stronger. So it's definitely helped. But I think having that recharge and just taking a step back and refocusing my motivation and realizing that it was just these anxieties and this pressure that I was putting on myself that was really like holding me back. And so ever since then, I just started being a little easier on myself. I shut down my home studio. I'm not doing the apprenticeship. I'm just really focusing on school now and just trying to get that done, because I was hoping to be like in a shop by the end of summer, even without a license, if you're good enough and you work somewhere where people are okay, like teaching you, which was this shop that I was at apprenticing. Sometimes they'll give you a chair and they'll let you start working before you get a license, if they know that you're working to get a license. So, but that didn't all work out that way. Like I said, I'm still pretty new in school. I'm not even halfway through my hours. So I think I was just putting the cart before the horse, they say. And
Your
now
body was like,
the horse
"This is
back in
too
front.
much."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Your body was like, can we not do all this at once? Can you
Yeah.
wait?
Yeah. But it was really hard. I mean, it was the mental breakdown. It really it fed into this kind of on and off depression that I've experiencing over the last couple of years. So it was hard, but I just did what recovery told me, and I just kept pushing through. And the phrase "this too shall pass" always plays in my head whenever I'm going through something hard, because it can be really difficult to convince yourself that whatever you're experiencing is temporary. And so sometimes it doesn't feel temporary, and especially when you're dealing with something like I've been dealing with the last couple of years, like it's on and off, ebbs and flows, but I still somehow manage to get to a place like today where I'm in a good mood and everything's fine and I don't feel like anything's bothering me, but it's life. It ebbs and flows. The good parts about life wouldn't seem so good, I guess, if there weren't.
Life does have its ebbs and flows. We do what we can. We all have our high and low moments. Anybody that tells you otherwise is a freaking liar. But you mentioned that there was some kind of turmoil in relationships. So have you had some like ups and downs in relationships, just not really finding the right person?
Relationships. Oh my God. So when I say relationships, developing and nurturing relationships, I mean that all across the board. Friendships, family, romantic relationships. One thing that I was really happy about that recovery gave me was the power to not be so dependent on romantic relationships, because I was very always needing to be with somebody and dating somebody and always needing to be in love with somebody before. And then I would be disappointed when that person would break my heart, and then I would drink over that and blah, blah, blah. I was endless cycle. But I don't really feel like I need a relationship anymore. I've had a couple of romantic things kind of blossom since I stopped drinking, but those things didn't really materialize into anything. And one of the most substantial one was actually this year. But I've just had a lot of trouble just developing relationships in general. I'm a very real person. I don't really fit into this model of this toxic positivity, this fake, everything's perfect, everything's beautiful, my life is perfect, people taking pictures on Lamborghinis they don't own and yachts that they got invited to, that they make it seem like they're living this high life and they're really not. Like when I lived in San Diego, I'd meet these people and then I'd see their Instagrams, and like the people I would meet versus the Instagrams that I would see, like they just weren't the same. They would seem like such a average, normal person, like when I would meet them, and then I would see their Instagram and they would just seem like larger than life and incredible and always smiling and never upset about anything. And I'm just not that person. And I don't think I ever will be. And I think that my bluntness and my realness is kind of a put off to some people. A lot of people think that I'm rude or that I'm an asshole or that I'm too much.
Never too much.
I don't know. I think that I'm a fun, playful, edgy, thoughtful, kind person. And I think I'm interesting and I have a lot of creativity and ideas and opinions, but I don't know. It's just been hard. Most of the friends that I've developed over the last few years, I'm not really that close with anymore. If I was close with them, I kind of lose touch with them. Some of that has to do with being an adult in your 30s. It can be hard to develop friendships and stuff, but I can tell that people that I used to want to hang out with and see, they don't want to hang out or see me as much, or they don't respond to my text messages or blah, 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 whatever. And like I said, some of that has to do with the people, but I know that has to do with me as well. And it's hard because when you're an active drinker, when you're living that party lifestyle, you have so many friends and you think that they're all your close friends. But then when you stop playing into that lifestyle, you realize that you have very little in common with those people. And you don't really have a foundation for that friendship anymore. So you don't really see those people anymore. And then when you're forced to be in my position and develop friendships, from a very authentic place, you really have to get to know the people that you're being friends with, because you don't have those crutches to just go and rip shots and dance and not really talk about much. You actually have to get to know and talk to the people that you're being friends with. And I don't know. I feel like I'm just too intense for some people, but I really don't think I'm that intense. I don't know.
From somebody that has known you for a long time, and obviously we haven't actually seen each other a long time because I've moved, but I find myself pretty good at reading people. I think you're awesome. There's a reason I stay in touch with you, because I think you're awesome. And I think I'm pretty good at reading people. So I'd say, personally, that those other people have no idea what they're missing out on. Just saying.
Well, that's high praise coming from you because I also feel like you're a real, authentic, and thoughtful person as well. So I really appreciate that.
You're welcome, but it's the truth. You know how you feel like you talked about how you don't feel connected to certain people. You do feel connected to certain people, and even though I haven't seen you in a long time, I still feel connected to you for whatever reason, whatever purpose, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no doubt that you will find your person and find your group of people. It does, as you change and as you grow, people fall away. I struggle with the same thing. People fall away and you're like, what am I doing wrong? And it's honestly, I think it's like you said, you're like a constant reminder of like realness, and people just can't like handle it.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't help. I do call people out on their bullshit, including my friends. But I mean, if you lie right in front of me, I'm going to say something about it.
And I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to do? I mean, like, we can have different opinions and varying beliefs, but it's different when you're talking about like just straight up like lying to somebody's face. Like,
Right. You can't just let your friend go on lying. That's not love. That's a little messed up. But I don't know. I don't speak up as much as I used to, but I also just can't help what I think. And like, I see a lot of behavior from people that I don't really like, or see them like lying, or seeing them like exaggerating the truth. And it's like, I have a very good investigative memory, and maybe being a detective is my calling, but because I've always had that. Yeah, I've always had that like detective kind of mindset, but I don't know what it is. I don't know why the world is so cruel to people that are like real and honest and thoughtful and kind and different. I just saw Wicked the other day, and I never saw the show before. I didn't read the book. I heard a lot about it from friends who were very familiar with the show and the book. But I had heard a lot of the music, and I knew that I liked the music. So that's usually like the killer for me with musicals. So if I like the music, I know I can get into the story. So I was really excited to go see the movie. Love Ariana and Cynthia. I actually got super invested and related to the Wicked Witch Alphabet's character, like more than I thought I would. It just felt very what I've been experiencing like the last couple of years, just like the isolation and just like the feeling like a freak, and like people don't want anything to do with you, and that you're really alone. And at the end of the movie, spoiler alert, but she does kind of end up alone. But it's a very powerful, profound moment that she feels empowered to be alone. And I've been there, but it was also a bittersweet, like emotional ride, because we know the story of the Wizard of Oz, and we know, that it doesn't end up well for the Wicked Witch of the West. And sometimes I feel like I'm the Wicked Witch of the West. Like, are people gonna keep pushing me away and being mean to me to the point that I like become this like evil presence that eventually gets a house dropped on me, and all that's left are my pretty shoes?
Oh, I know I shouldn't laugh, but I mean that was quite the comparison. Yeah. But you got to remember, what does Glinda say in The Wizard of Oz? Only bad witches are ugly, and you're not ugly, my friend. So,
well, I know that much. But no, yeah, it was like I was very into the movie. It was a very emotional, powerful watch for me, because I just felt very, I don't know, I felt very seen. And I just feel like if stories are being told on that level, like, I feel like people should pay more attention and not be so cruel and, I guess, impatient to things that they don't understand, things that don't look like them or act like them. We're so quick to make assumptions. Like, if someone at work asks like, oh, hey, do you guys carry this? I'll just be like, no, we don't. And they're like, well, that was a rude response. I'm like, why is it rude? I'm just saying we don't carry that. Should we carry everything that you want personally? But it's just that kind of like bluntness that like people just don't like, especially around here.
Yeah, I think personally that goes back to people are assuming what your response means instead of just taking your response as a response.
Right, like the answer to the question was yes or no. I said no.
Yeah, and just because I didn't say no how you wanted me to say no doesn't mean I'm being disrespectful.
Exactly. And I had a guest the other day who called me rude because, well, they asked me to do something for them at the beginning that we don't do. I said that's against our company policy, so I can't do that. And they didn't really make it noticeable that they were upset. They were just like, okay, that's fine. And then when they ordered their food, I repeated the order back to them exactly how they said it to me. Exactly. So I did everything I was supposed to do. And then their food came out, and then they're like, well, where is this item that I ordered? And I was like, I didn't hear you ordered that. I was like, if you recall, I repeated your order back to you, and you guys both said that that was okay. So if you'd like, I can put that other item in for you, and it'll be out in a few minutes. No, that's fine. And then wrote on their receipt, rude waiter, no tip. I was like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I can't read your mind. I repeated your order back to you. I even let you know that I repeated your order back to you just to help you remember that I repeated your order back to you. So, I mean, I'm just too sharp for these people, I guess. Just too sharp.
I guess you're too ahead of the curve.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always been, I guess, looked at as kind of weird my whole life. I've always been different. Whether it was the clothes I wear, I'm too quiet, I'm too loud, I'm too this, I'm too that. And at the end of the day, I'm not an average, I guess, normal person. I just don't see things the way the masses do. And people see that as like a threat almost.
It's because we're not boring.
Mm-hmm. Truly, like nothing. Like just not invested in something just because someone tells us to be.
Well, and you have a creative mind as well too, and I think when you have a creative mind, you look at things very differently. Mm. And people without a creative mind just can't relate to that because we just see the world very differently. Because even my husband, he's very analytical, and I am very creative. He sees me writing books, and he thinks it's insane. He's like, how do you do that? It's just, but that's the difference is he tries to make an effort to understand why other people are like, just like, not worth my time.
Truly.
Well, I'm sorry that you've been on the struggle bus with friendships, to say the least, and romantically. But it sounds like you kind of made it out the other side, and hopefully that means 2025 is going to be your year.
I hope so. We'll see. It seems like a lot of interesting things could happen. So we'll see. I know at least have a Lady Gaga concert and an album to deal with here. Yeah, I'm gonna come to Chicago. We can go.
Yes, I would totally come to Chicago to go.
Coming year, so it's gonna be really fun. Yeah. And she's doing all this like she's totally like, oh my god, she's playing my heartstrings right now. She's doing, at least from what I've gathered so far, she's doing like a industrial rock / early 90s rock kind of influences for this album, like grunge. And she released like stripped down version of her new single where she just plays the piano, and it's like very like dark and brooding and emotional. And she's wearing this like black wig with like all of the like gothic kind of aesthetic, and it's giving like Amy Lee, like when she sits down at her piano and listens to her ballads. So it's just like my high school goth fantasy, but in total like pop superstardom formation. Is just, I don't know. I think I'm gonna live for it.
I mean, you had my attention at like grunge, and I was like, say more.
Very cool. Very cool.
Very cool. I mean,
and pop is doing so.
I love that we've watched Lady Gaga go through so many stages.
Mm-hmm. Also cool. And we get to see the next Lady Gaga, I guess, coming up, which is like, I guess, Chapel Row, and everybody is super excited about her. And she's like the weird girl and wearing the outfits and the big crazy performances and stuff. So
yeah. I haven't seen Lady Gaga yet. I need to. So
live? Ever?
Nope.
The first time I saw her was a spiritually moving experience.
I love when that happens.
It was incredible. I saw her at Lollapalooza in 2010, and she did so much talking, and normally like that annoys me. I don't want to hear the artist talk like the whole time. I want to hear them like sing and, bust out those really big, beautiful notes and all that. And she does a lot of talking, and well, she did. And it was just very inspirational, though. She was just like telling everybody, like, you can do anything, you freaks and geeks, you're all beautiful to me, and calling us, her little monsters and stuff like that. But she had us all raise our hands before she was going to perform one of her songs, You and I think she was debuting that one live. And she's like, raise your hand, everybody raise your hand. And then she's like, now grab the nearest hand of the person you don't know. Don't grab your friend's hand. Don't grab your girlfriend, boyfriend's hand. Grab the hand of someone you don't know, the nearest person that you can reach. And I just thought that was so cool. It was just like, she had like 85,000 people watching her, and she had 85,000 people holding hands with people they didn't know, that never met before, people from other states, cities. And it was just this really incredible moment. This probably a moment of more things that we need in music and just in society in general, just more people being united. And it was really fun. The girl I was holding hands with did end up passing out.
Oh, no.
While I was holding her hand, but
was she okay?
I don't know whatever happened to her. She passed out, and then the crowd, I was pretty close to the stage because I was really excited to see her. And this girl, she passed out, and they crowd surfed her out because nobody could get in or out. So they just like picked her up and crowd surfed her out.
Oh,
so it was pretty incredible. That weekend was crazy. It was like 95 degrees and sunny the whole weekend, super humid, no rain, no clouds. People were passing out left and right. I still drank at the time, but I didn't even drink during the festival. I waited until after to go out.
Oh my God. Somebody out there tell us if Jason's mysterious girl is okay.
I know. Are you out there? Were you at the 2010 Lady Gaga Lollapalooza show, and then you passed out after holding hands with a spiky blonde-haired kid?
Please let us know. We want to know that you're all right.
Yeah.
Oh, but I love moments like that. I'm sure she's probably fine too. But I love moments like that where you just feel things, or you get, like you said, united with people. We do need more of a unite. Stuff is constantly trying to divide us. I remember I was probably about 11 years old, and I saw Coco Taylor. She's a blues artist, and I remember being absolutely blown away by her. Like, that's like a solid core memory for me of just, she literally lived and breathed the blues. Like, you could feel her soul in every word. It's crazy how moments like that stick with you.
That was your first show?
Yeah. Yeah. She was born down south, but she lived and is buried like 5 minutes from where my parents live. So she came to Homewood Days and sang there for free. They used to block off the streets for the summer, and she just came, and I got to see this amazing blues legend for free. She was like 70 years old at the time too, and still absolutely phenomenal.
Awesome. I bet. My first show was American Idol's Live when I was 19. To see Adam Lambert, because he was the popular contestant that year. And I was super obsessed with that. I was like this high school kind of goth kid that kind of conformed and became more preppy just because like I really wanted to, and I never really like got to buy like the Abercrombie and the Hollister and stuff that I really wanted to, and I wanted to be fashionable for a little while. And then Adam Lambert popped into the scene, and he was kind of merging the goth kind of edgy rock look with fashion, and I was like, ooh, I want to do that. I didn't know you could do that. So I was just like totally obsessed with him. And then like musically and vocally, he was just like everything I ever wanted to be as a singer. So he was definitely my American Idol. But that was my first show. I was 19. It was like a dream come true. I even got to meet him afterwards.
That's awesome. I mean, my first like real show was the Spice Girls. That shows you how old I am.
Oh my God, I never saw the Spice Girls live. They were my favorite when I was a kid, like my absolute favorite.
Again, I was like 12. I went with like a bunch of girls from junior high and like somebody's mom, but it was awesome.
Where did you go?
Where did I go?
Do you remember what venue it was?
Yeah, whatever it's called now. They're in Tinley Park, the Tweeter Center, the World. It was the World back then.
It's still the Tweeter Center. I don't know what it is now. It's still the Tweeter Center.
It was the World back then. I still have the ticket stub. Yeah. But it was the Tweeter Center, I think, the longest.
Yeah. I always knew it was the Tweeter Center.
Oh my God, I've seen so many people there.
Yeah, I think I've only seen a couple shows there, actually, surprisingly. Because I
So
didn't start
many.
going to shows until I was like up here, like closer to the city, really.
So many.
So, and now I go to shows all the time. It's hard to believe that there was ever a time where I didn't go to shows at all. Because now I go to like 30 a year, 40 a year.
See, and now I haven't gone. I haven't gone to one since before COVID. I haven't gone since before because the last person I saw was Aaron Lewis. He was in Joliet in this little tiny venue, just him by himself, and it was fantastic.
Mm-hmm. He's a singer of Stained, right?
Yes.
I always liked his voice.
He has a fantastic voice. And he did some
Oh,
Stain songs.
I still listen to Epiphany when I'm like really feeling like
That song. Yeah.
upset about
It
my
gets
life.
you.
You know? Yeah. That's like
It gets you.
that's the dark brooding music that I used to like listen to all the time, like all of Amy Lee's ballads and
Yes. Yes.
Stained
Yeah.
and all the emotional stuff. So.
Yeah, I saw him with Stained, I don't know, back in like 2005 or something. So then it was kind of bittersweet to see him again in 19. But yeah. Anyway, we totally got into the music thing, but that's because we're both into music. But what advice would you give to somebody that kind of feels like you do, that feels like kind of isolated and different and weird? Like, what would you tell them?
This too shall pass is probably the thing that I just repeat to people. I want to say that I'm like through everything and that like it's not something I still continuously struggle with, but especially if you're going through some kind of recovery journey, giving up an addiction, just anything that really shakes up your life in a way that changes everything, and really forces you to live authentically. It's hard. Most people in the world, as we see, like they can't do it. Is anybody living like me who just feels like they're kind of too real for the world around them? Just try to find your people. Try to embrace those people. I feel like I'm probably more destined to just be somebody who has like few close friends, and that's it. Like a few really good close friends versus somebody that has like hundreds and hundreds of acquaintances or people that think are really good friends, but they're really not that good of friends. But I don't know. It's hard, but like I said, this too shall pass. Pain's temporary. It does. And that's also a hard thing to sell to people sometimes because everybody's pain lasts a different amount of time. Put an example on it. Like when I first started, when I first gave up drinking, I did have some relapses in my first year and a half. It's a complicated thing, but when I first got it, I think it was like my first 30 days, I was still kind of having some cravings from my last relapse, and then I got rid of it. And now I don't have any desire to drink whatsoever. But someone else I met in recovery, they had cravings every day for 2 years. 2 years they went without drinking and still thought about it like crazy every day. But eventually they got over it, you know. You just have to be patient sometimes, and you just kind of have to embrace whatever it is you're going through. I still have a lot of conflicting emotions and feelings and opinions about higher powers and spirituality and religion. But I'd like to believe, if I don't actually believe, I'd like to believe that the universe has good intentions for all of us, and it's up to us to overcome our own obstacles and to find where our potential is, what we're supposed to be doing, to kind of get in the flow of the life that I don't know if I necessarily believe in destiny, because I don't believe anything's for sure going to happen. Because I know for sure if I did not call my brother that one morning or that one night that I was thinking about killing myself because I couldn't stop drinking, like that my life would not be what it is today. If I didn't take that action, my life would not be what it is today. I know people in recovery who don't make it because they couldn't keep doing what was going to keep them sober. And if we don't stick around for the miracle can't happen. And that's not just a recovery saying, like that's for everything. If you don't trust the process, like life is hard, life is pressure. And we just kind of got to stick around for it, and don't let the social media and all that bullshit fool you. Like nobody's life is perfect. Nobody's life is without flaws, without challenges. I mean, look at the Kardashians, for instance. Everybody thinks their life is so perfect. They have everything they want. They're beautiful. They're rich. They could have any man or woman or whatever they could ever dream of. I just imagine them though. And I mean, I'm testifying on their account, so forgive me, but I'm just imagining like their life, and someone with fame of that level seems like they have everything. I could just imagine that it's probably really difficult for them to develop genuine relationships and not be used by people. And it might even be difficult for them to get close to people. And while they might have fame and money and everything, they're scrutinized and criticized every day. They're, I can still see 1,000 ways in which their lives are not perfect. So nobody has it all. Some people might make you think they do. But I look at it like this. I also heard this phrase in a meeting once. You can't save your ass and your face at the same time. You can be fake and you can live this life of positivity and love and that nothing ever bothers you and everything's okay all the time. But your ass is grass at that point. Sometimes you just got to be honest and be real in order to continue on. And that's all I try to do every day. I mean, that's all I can do. I'm just a real person. But yeah, life is hard. Life is challenging. We just got to stick around.
We do. And when you do get into film, do you have an idea of what kind of film you want to make without like giving too much of your idea away?
So I originally wanted to do horror movies. Those were always
I can totally see it.
I love horror movies. And don't get me wrong, if and when I ever do film, I will make a horror movie. A very disturbing, realistic horror movie. Because I think that's what's missing to me from the genre. Is there's been a lot of like camp and there's been a lot of like high paranormal activity stuff. And I think there's just like not a lot of like realistic horror. And I think that that's kind of the lane that I would want to go into. But I think the first movie that I would ever actually want to make is about like a recovery story, like someone. I want to base it loosely on myself, but I also want to kind of take into this person's story, like other aspects that I've heard throughout meetings and stuff like that, and it's kind of this origin story of someone making it to a meeting, and then it's not going to show anything after that. It's just going to show that this person like making it to the meeting. Because sometimes at the end of the day, that is the biggest challenge. And that is where probably like 99% of addicts and alcoholics like don't make it. They just don't ever make it to that first meeting. And so I want to make a movie where it's kind of this story of this like vibrant performer, singer who's just struggling with all of the bullshit that alcoholism can cause. And I've got a name for it. I haven't actually started writing the script, but I have like this, I have this like little folder of all these like notes and inspirations and songs and stuff I want to put in the movie. So
I love it.
It'll definitely be that.
I'm going to make you give me your phone number and I'm going to start texting you like once a week and be like, hey, have you written this week?
I need to start writing. I need to start writing the scripts. I used to write a lot and then I just stopped. So I really would like to get back into it. It's so tedious.
It can be. That is for sure.
It's difficult for me to do those like sit down and work type of things. I like to do like actually making the film, like the writing the script and stuff isn't quite as fun.
Maybe you need to like dictate. Maybe dictation would work better for you than like typing.
Maybe. See, there's all these things I don't even know about. Like I'm so like, I don't know anything.
You do. You're just.
I know a lot, but then I don't know anything at all. Like I'm still amazed at all these things that all these technologies and all these different things that they have for people now.
It is. Like, we got a lot of stuff.
I was talking to this guy and he was like, "Oh, I'm sketching," and I was like, "What are you sketching?" And then he sent me like if it was a picture of the tablet he was using or a screenshot from the tablet, but it was like very much like a computer, like perfectly drawn picture. And I was like, and that's what they use now. They don't, I had a sketchbook and a couple different kinds of pencils that I would carry around, and that's what I would draw with. And now kids these days carry around tablets and they're like drawing, and it's like, they have all these different options. It's so cool. And I wouldn't know anything to do with that. So this dictation thing, I'm sure that's been around for a long time, but.
Yeah, I've dabbled with drawing on the iPad because I have one, and I was like, oh, let's try this out. And it's super cool. Not going to lie.
I bet. It's really cool. I mean, I used to get pissed off because my hand drags a lot when I would draw. That was something that I was never able to like stop doing. And so I would like have smear marks on a lot of my sketches because I would get like all the lead all over my hand, and I would get so pissed off. And I don't feel like that's probably not much of a problem with that.
No, there's not. See, you're gonna have to go back to sketching too.
I might have to.
See, there you go. A little healthy reminder to not give up on the things that you love, even as they change and grow into new ways of doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So what final note do you want to leave our listeners with? The pressure is on.
Yeah. I would say that growth is hard, but growth is necessary for life. And while what I'm going through might be extremely difficult, I also have good days as well as bad. And, you know, I know that I'm growing, though. I know that I'm improving myself, and that I'm moving forward, and that I'm not just kind of sitting in a life that I don't really care for because it's safe and comfortable. I feel like people should learn something every day, push yourself every day. Don't be afraid to get outside of your comfort zone. I had this really good pep talk from a manager at Denny's when I was 16 or 16 or 17. And it was just really funny that this was coming from a manager at Denny's. And I was working at McDonald's and Denny's at the same time. I was making more money at Denny's, but it was a little bit harder and it was further away versus my job at McDonald's. And my manager at Denny's like really saw my potential in hospitality, and she was like really wanting me to stay. So she was just like, she's like, I think you're comfortable at McDonald's. I think you are. She's like, I think that you should probably stay here because it's uncomfortable for you, because you're going to get on the other side of that discomfort and it's going to be easy. Move outside your comfort zone, not just stay there, because that's the only way you're going to grow. And just one more little recovery phrase: stay green and growing, because when you don't grow, you rot.
Ooh, I like that.
That's a good one.
It's a good one, yeah.
Myself of. So.
And I almost forgot. I'm gonna have to ask now. Tell us about your cat and how your cat played a big deal.
I'm a cat dad. I wish that he was here. He's so cute. I keep thinking that you can actually see what we're doing right now. I'm like, oh wait, this is a podcast. He's an orange tabby. I never had a kitten before, and we always like adopted like rescues and stuff. And my roommates had cats, and I never had a kitten of my own, and got the opportunity to adopt this gorgeous little orange tabby from a friend of a friend. And he's just, I didn't even want an orange cat. I didn't want a white cat. I wanted a black cat. Like I really wanted a black cat. Or I wanted like a gray tabby, because I had a gray tabby when I was a kid, and those are like super like stereotypical cats to me. But my friend was like, hey, you can adopt this cat if you want. And I looked at him, and I was just, something inside me was just like, he's perfect. And I brought him home, and he is perfect for me. He's like the sweetest. He's super cuddly. He's actually pretty chill compared to some orange cats. He doesn't get into a lot of shit. He does have orange cat personality. He's kind of an asshole, but at the same time super affectionate and cute. I don't know. He's great. And he plays catch, and he fetches. So he's like kind of like a dog too. But they say like, I mean, that might have even been like what released me from my obsession with like romantic relationships, because I have this animal that like relies on me and, you know, he needs me to survive. There's a level of unconditional love that pets give you that I think that just most humans can't offer you. And it's just been a very pivotal, important thing, like especially in my recovery, but just as my growth as a person, to take care of this little orange beast. But he's delightful. And even being super allergic to cats, which I am, it's still totally worth it.
Have you gotten over the allergy, or are you still kind of dealing with
I
it?
take 3 different medications every day to keep those allergies in check, and occasionally still have some like issues. Like if I get like any of his hair or anything in my eye, it sucks, but it's not too bad. I would definitely be less happy without a cat and no allergy symptoms whatsoever than with him now, I think. So
I mean, I love it. That's perfect.
yeah. He's my son.
I love it. I mean, orange cats are special. I have one too. So, and all the other orange cat owners out there know.
Yeah, we know.
We know.
Mm-hmm.
And on that note, this is how to deal when the shit gets real. And I'll see you all next episode.